At 03:17 hours on November 19, 1943, Commander Dudley Mush Morton gripped the periscope housing of USS Wahoo, SS-238, and stared into absolute black water. 47 degrees north latitude, the Sea of Japan. The nearest Allied surface vessel was 700 miles away. Above him, a 9-ship Japanese convoy, tankers, troop transports, escort destroyers, moved in tight formation through the strait. Below him, water depth dropped to just under 90 feet. Not enough room to dive below a depth charge pattern. Not enough room to run. Wahoo carried 4 torpedoes. The convoy carried over 12,000 tons of cargo and several hundred soldiers bound for the Pacific theater. The math was not encouraging. Morton was 34 years old. He had already sunk 11 ships in 6 prior war patrols, but more than any other submarine commander in the Pacific Fleet at that time. He had also earned a reputation for decisions that made his superiors nervous. Decisions that repeatedly turned out to be correct. His executive, Dick O'Kane, later wrote that Morton operated with a kind of compressed calm that bordered on frightening. The Sea of Japan mission had been deliberate. Wahoo entered through La Perouse Strait in early October, transiting submerged through minefields that American naval intelligence had charted only partially. The strait between Hokkaido and Sakhalin Island was just over 25 miles wide. The mines were spaced 40 feet apart in some sectors. Wahoo's beam measured 27 feet 4 inches. Morton knew the numbers. He went anyway. The convoy had no reason to expect a submarine in these waters. Had the Sea of Japan was considered an interior Japanese lake. American submarines did not operate here. They could not operate here. The mines alone should have prevented it. The shallow depths made torpedo attack impractical. The confined geography meant no escape after a counterattack. Morton had spent 4 days tracking this convoy before positioning Wahoo in the approach corridor. He used the periscope in 2-second exposures, never longer, counting the ships, calculating speeds, mapping the escort pattern. 1 destroyer rode the starboard flank. A second held station at the convoy's rear. The formation interval was approximately 500 yards. At 03:41 hours, Morton gave the order to come to periscope depth. The nearest transport, a 6,400-ton troop carrier, was 850 yards off the port bow and closing. Morton called the firing solution to his torpedo officer. Speed 7 knots, heading 275, range 800 yards and dropping. He fired 2 torpedoes from the forward tubes. 11 seconds between shots. The first struck the transport amidships at 03:42 hours. The detonation lit the periscope view white, then orange. The second torpedo ran beneath the ship. A depth error of 6 feet, the result of the shallow water affecting the weapon's running depth. Morton didn't wait to watch the ship go down. He was already swinging the periscope to find the destroyer. The escort was turning toward Wahoo's position at full speed. 18 knots. Range dropping fast. Morton ordered an immediate dive to 80 feet, essentially the bottom, and pushed forward at full electric power, perpendicular to the destroyer's track. The depth charges came 4 minutes later. 6 explosions, the nearest one close enough to knock out the gyro compass and shatter 2 gauge covers. Wahoo went dark for 38 seconds before the crew restored emergency lighting. Morton surfaced at 05:11 hours. The troop transport was still burning 3 miles away, broken at the waterline, listing 60 degrees. 2 smaller vessels circled it. The rest of the convoy had scattered north. Morton committed to a surface pursuit in partial daylight with 2 remaining torpedoes, hunting the convoy's largest tanker through the smoke. He found it at 0634, 8,000 tons, loaded deep, running north toward Hokkaido. The final torpedo fired at a range of just under 600 yards. It struck the tanker's engine room. The detonation ignited the cargo. Yet the explosion was visible from 40 miles. Wahoo exited the Sea of Japan 6 days later through Tsugaru Strait, submerged, navigating by dead reckoning, after the gyro compass remained unreliable. Morton filed his patrol report on December 4, 1943, listing 21 days in hostile waters, 9 ships encountered, 4 ships sunk or destroyed. Total enemy tonnage eliminated in that single patrol, over 21,000 tons. Morton did not survive the war. Wahoo's 9th patrol, launched in September 1943, produced no contact reports. The submarine never returned to Pearl Harbor. Post-war analysis of Japanese records confirmed Wahoo was sunk on October 11, 1943, in La Pérouse Strait by a combination of aerial bombs and a depth-charge attack from escort vessels. All 80 men aboard were lost. The Morton was posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor. Dick O'Kane survived the war as a prisoner of the Japanese after USS Tang was sunk by one of its own malfunctioning torpedoes, a story almost as improbable as Morton's. O'Kane received the Medal of Honor as well. The Sea of Japan patrols influenced how American submarine doctrine evolved through 1944 and 1945. The notion that certain waters were inaccessible, too shallow, too confined, too well defended, had been revised by one man with 4 torpedoes and a functional disregard for the conventional definition of impossible. 80 men went with him into those waters. None of them came home. The Sea of Japan kept that. If this story moved you the way it moved us, hit that like button. Subscribe for more forgotten stories from the margins of history. Drop a comment telling us where you're watching from. Thank you for keeping these memories alive.